Hello and welcome to the next video. Today we're gonna talk a little bit about Maven. So Maven is a build tool. It's a proved technology for a few decades, and comparing to Gradle, of course, it's more stable. Let's say it has more support, but it's not as flexible as Gradle. So you can write a code directly. You need to create a library and some plugins actually, and something like this. So we're gonna create a new project, and I'll describe everything in details starting from it. So I'll copy one of my lines here. So we already used it actually previously. So you can see that we use Maven app. So you need to have a Maven installed in iOS. In macOS you can install it with brew install Maven, and that's it. In Linux you can or download it or install from the apt repository. So this line is actually not from let's say Quarkus, right? So what Quarkus did is that they use its own plugin, which you can see here. So this thing is called the group ID, which you can also see here, but they're a little bit different. But it's also a group ID, so there is no difference. And then in the group ID you have a Quarkus Maven plugin. That's the name of the artifact that we are using, which does all the work, and of course the version is itself. So after these two dots, we have a create, which is a function name basically. So not more like an more like a command, right? So we want to execute a create command here, and everything else is just more of so basically you're executing this line of code, and all the other things is defined, as you can see, -d as additional parameters to command that we use. And you can also use this line without any parameters. It will be in interactive manner. So you can see that we prompted to set a project group ID. So we have it here. So we passed it, and let's put the tag now. Then artifact ID, Maven example. I'll just copy it over project version. It will prompt all the available options here. So we'll use 1.0. Do I want to create a REST resource? And if let's say in our case we use it because we put the class name and the path here, so we can put yes, and then we put the name of the resource. Of course we can use hello resource, it's okay, and then the path. So it asks us if we want to use a path, which is now we had the book, but in our case it's hello, so there is no difference. We can put a book as well. It's actually more correct to use books, but whatever. And then you can see that it's created a project for us, right? So you can see that we have we generated project, so we can go to city, Maven example, and see all the like things that it's created for us. So there is nothing different from the the different setup that we used previously in all the videos with the arguments. So it's just more convenient to use it as is, so we don't waste the time to write some stuff, so we can input everything at once. So the only thing that you haven't seen yet is that with the arguments that you define, like in first example, you can also put an extension here, here small I, full tolerance, vertex wrap, and rest is JSON-B. So this is not an option with the interactive option that you can use, but it's not a problem because you can always add them or by hand, which we'll see in a minute, or so you can really easy add the dependency or extension to the Quarkus. You need to only call Maven v Quarkus add extension, and then -d extensions equals, for example, in our case, rest is JSON-B. So that's the a command that you can use to add a dependency or extension to the Quarkus. So you see here Quarkus, then the name of the command, that extension, and then we pass the argument extension. So you can see that it should theoretically work, yes, and you can see that it's added extension Quarkus REST easy JSON-B. Yeah, let's open it up in IntelliJ IDEA. 1 second. Okay, so I opened the project. You can see that everything is generated here. And so as I said previously, you can either use this command, Maven Quarkus add extension, or either you can just add it right here into the dependencies. So most of the dependencies, except some of them, will just add the dependency into the dependencies scope in the POM XML. So that's exactly what happened with the Quarkus REST easy JSON-B. And you can see that it actually uses the REST easy JSON-B as is. Although, so you might think that it added the Quarkus REST easy, just the Quarkus to the as a prefix. It's not the case in all the times, but it's a good idea to try if you have something that you want to add. So, for example, we had here, it also can add few dependencies if needed. So let's use small I fault tolerance here, and you might think that you can do it like this. So you add a dependency and then Quarkus small I fault tolerance. So let's see if it will work, right? And you can see that it actually added the dependency. Nothing, it doesn't say nothing, but so that's, as I said, that's the second option to add a dependency, right? So we can delete it and call this thing with this thing small I fault tolerance, and you will see that it added an extension the same way. So just as we just copy paste it and change this thing. So here small I fault tolerance added, and we can use it if needed. So that's the second option to add a dependency. And then the third one, of course, is when you create a project with the -d extension. So that's the 3 ways you can add an extension to a Maven project. One thing to note is that you can also use this thing with the asterisk to specify that you want to include all. So for example, there is a hibernate asterisk like this, and this will add all the hibernate extensions that you can find. So it search for all of them, and you can see that we added search, Elasticsearch, ORM, Panache, and validator. So there's 4 of them with only one like line, of course. And to run our app, that's also really easy. So you go to the Maven NV, you call the Maven NV Quarkus dev. You can also, of course, use a Maven Quarkus dev. It will work the same way, as you can see. So we can use Maven Quarkus dev. It will load all the dependencies required. So let's take a little bit of time. I'm not sure why it's actually calling and you can see that it's also loaded. Oh, of course, because I added a hibernate here. So you can see it's created a project. There is a lot of actually dependencies because of the hibernate, but yeah. So one thing that you can note here is that there is a listening for transport that is socket at address 5005, which is by default called with the Quarkus dev. So you can just set it up in your ED and call the remote, for example, in IntelliJ IDEA. You just use this thing and apply. Okay, and you can try to debug. It may work. So like you can see that it's already, so I already attached the debugger by default, and we can put here like a line. You can see that it's already catched the line. So if you run the hello like this, you will see that's actually should I think it's not the one localhost 8080 book, because of a book, of course. So you can see that we enabled the debugger. So that's just brief introduction of the debugger if it's needed. So yeah, that's again, you have a live coding activated, so you can change stuff and reload. The reload will happen after you call or your code is executed in some way, for example via the browser, if you call any endpoint or something like this. Yeah, so that's there. To package, of course, you can use the Maven package like this. This will generate the Java library. It will of course run the test as well. So you can also use profile to build it the other way as for the native, but please have a look at the native chapter to see how it's actually done. So let's investigate a little bit of POM XML and see what's going on there. So again, from the Quarkus perspective, nothing special except maybe properties. So there is you can specify any properties that you need. So the Quarkus dependencies are here, and they are used throughout the project. You can see here everything. So if you want to change the Quarkus plugin version, you can do it right here. And yeah, there is a platform version as well. So here we have a dependency management, which is the dependency itself is taken from the properties part, as you can see. Then we have a dependencies, of course, and then we have a build phases, and for which each of them we have a plugin. So here we have a Quarkus Maven plugin, which is like the general main thing that helps you to do all the stuff, and it's used with the build. There is also a compile plugin and surefile plugin, which is used for testing, and it's also stops the logger for you. Then we have a profile called native, which is of course the to build native image, and it has like a failsafe plugin, and you can see that there is also system properties for the native image path, where the native image will go. So it's not used by the failsafe itself, but rather by the Quarkus. And then there is also properties Maven package type native, so Quarkus package type native. So that's what Quarkus needs to know in order to build it as a native application. So one thing that you might want to do as well is to see all the dependencies, and to do it, it's not the Maven way, but more you need to add a plugin. I already have it here. So that's a Quarkus Bootstrap Maven plugin. You just put it in the plugin section, and you put here a Quarkus plugin version. So let's import the changes as well, and you can do the in a command line, and so you can execute the to list all the dependencies with the next line, Maven v Quarkus Bootstrap, and then build tree like this. So this will list all the dependencies. It's kind of the way the Gradle works as well. So you can see all the dependencies that you have. So you have tech.now, Maven example, jar as your root, and then you can see that all the dependencies that you have. Quarkus REST easy, and then you can see that here you have a server common deployment, and Quarkus REST easy common, REST easy core, and then you can see that it's Java X web services. And you can see also that in the Undertow SPI you have a NETI, codec HTTP, for example. For the vertex you have a NETI as well. For the what is there also? You can see that we have, in some way, we have a Quarkus Kubernetes SPI for some sort from the Quarkus vertex HTTP development. Yeah, so you can basically see all the there is a JSONB, but there was one JSONB here Quarkus GCMB deployment, which goes from the REST easy GCMB deployment. So you can see all the dependencies here with this way of doing it. So yeah, yeah, now you know how to use a Maven more securely. I'd say it like this. Yeah, I hope you will like the Gradle as well. So we'll see how to open your application in IDEA in 3 different IDEas in the next video, and then we'll see Gradle as well.